I'm at a bar or a restaurant and I randomly run into like some old white dude randomly, you know? And they're always like, oh my God, you're Chinese? My brother's wife is Chinese. Yeah.
What is good, guys? It's your boy Corey.
It's your boy John.
And welcome back to the Artistry Drop, where we feature stories from today's rising artists. Guys, we're going to dive right in. Our guest today is an actor, model, and boxer who beats up people on and off screen. Guys, please welcome our guest, Vanessa Nguyen.
Let's go.
Vanessa, thank you for coming on the show. It's been a minute since I've seen you. I think last time I saw you was right when I moved here in 2019. That was the last time we shot. We had talked about shooting again, and it just never happened.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
That's crazy.
How have you been?
I've been well. It's such a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Oh, thank you.
We're excited to have you on.
Sir.
You know, and we talked a little bit on our first shoot. Kind of got to know you a little bit more, but you know, we need to let our viewers get to know you a little bit more, you know, like your artistry is very important. But before we do, guys, let's get into the drink of the day.
Oh, yeah, I've been looking at this.
Oh, yes. So the drink of the day actually doesn't have an official name.
Oh, it doesn't?
I'm going to call it the bougie drink because it is a little bit bougie. Normally we have like really strong drinks, but this is very light and, you know, kind of wakes you up, kind of like a mimosa. Okay. So
this is a morning drink.
This is a nice morning drink. Refreshing, you know, we're getting into the springtime, so you know, I think that this fits the season. Okay, so definitely gave it a shot and a half of tequila to start it off. And then I made some watermelon juice fresh, so I cut up some watermelon, blended it, strained it, and then added it in here for some, you know, authentic watermelon vibes. And then so I added that watermelon puree and then added some lime juice and then topped it off with some Prosecco sparkling wine. So this is a mix of tequila and wine, kind of like a mimosa. So and then I just you know, added some watermelon chunks in there and then some lemon and topped it off with a little garnish of watermelon.
You for real on your tipsy bartender. Like, you know? Honestly, this looks really good. Looks like a great morning afternoon drink.
Yes, sir.
All right,
that's what we're doing.
Let's taste it.
Let's taste it.
Cheers.
Cheers to a good podcast.
Yes, sir.
All right, get that first reaction.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh, that is good.
Can I tell you a secret?
What's the secret?
I usually hate watermelon.
You do?
Oh, really?
Oh, whoa.
I never eat watermelon, and like I don't like the flavor. I don't like candy watermelon. But this, surprisingly, is really good.
Oh,
it is good.
Yeah, I think it's like more of a hint of watermelon since I blended it and made it puree. So it's not like a watermelon syrup, you know.
So is this your own recipe?
Kinda. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, every recipe I build it off of like somebody else's recipe, but then I add my own twist to it to make it my own tipsy bartender.
There you go.
Delicious.
Let's go. No, that tastes really good.
Thank you, bro.
But let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, so like your name, your last name is Nguyen, so I'm assuming you're Vietnamese.
Is it
correct?
Nguyen or Wen? Because you know a lot of people pronounce.
That's true.
That's the thing. Like, whenever I've had like other Vietnamese friends, and I said Nguyen, they're like, no, it's not Nguyen, it's Nguyen. I'm like, oh, like I had no idea. So what is the exact pronunciation? So for people out there that don't actually know.
It's really funny, actually. So if you say it in Vietnamese, it's Nguyen, right?
Oh.
But it's funny because I'm actually half Vietnamese, half Chinese.
So
I grew up speaking Cantonese at home with my parents, and then in a lot of like Asian cultures, you don't really call each other by your names, right? You say like mom, dad, brother, sister, like that's what they call you. And so I've never really heard my name spoken out loud until I went to school. So I went to preschool and they were like, Vanessa Nguyen, right? And at first I didn't even recognize that was my name. I was like, my mom told me stories of like, they would call us in and they would have to explain to you that your name is Vanessa. And then it was like a whole ordeal. But I've just never heard anyone pronounce my name until I went to school. So growing up, I just went by Vanessa Nguyen. So I still say Nguyen. And then like moving out here, slowly people are like, oh, it's Nguyen, like Nguyen. I'm like, honestly, like I don't care.
So it's just one of those things then. So it's like I guess there is really no correct pronunciation then? Okay, yeah, see, that's crazy.
So how do you guys say it in Vietnamese again?
Nguyen.
I'm gonna start saying
and
that
like
from now on.
I butcher Vietnamese too. Like Cantonese is my first language, and then I picked up a little bit of Vietnamese here and there, like through my extended family. So I'm like, that's probably not even perfect either.
Right. Yeah. So I was raised, being Laotian, and I'm half Vietnamese as well. So like having that half Vietnamese, I gotta get it right. You know, I was like disgrace to my own.
You're definitely more
culture.
Lao than you are.
I mean the shirt. Yeah.
The shirt.
But,
there you go.
Yeah. So you said that you speak fluent Cantonese.
Yeah.
Can you speak Vietnamese at all, or is this like?
I can't. It's very, very broken. Like I can understand when my aunties and uncles are talking to me, but it's mostly like, have you eaten yet?
Small
like,
talk.
what did you do? You know, like little things that I'll understand, and then I'll reply in English.
Okay.
I mean, it's the easier route to go. You know, like especially when it is like your first language, pretty much. You know, but so you did say you speak Cantonese with your family, but you're half Vietnamese. So does who's half Vietnamese or is your dad or mom full Vietnamese or?
So my mom is full Chinese, so she says, and then my dad is Vietnamese, but I'm pretty sure he's mixed because they both grew up in a neighborhood in Vietnam that is predominantly Chinese, specifically Cantonese. Yeah. So my dad speaks Cantonese.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Yeah. So that's crazy. But does he speak Vietnamese as well?
Yeah,
or?
They both speak Vietnamese as well.
Oh, really?
Damn, that's crazy.
But it's funny because my mom didn't learn Vietnamese until she moved out here. Like she didn't speak any Vietnamese when she was living in Vietnam. She just got away with like speaking Chinese because she was like in her neighborhood.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Damn, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
I would never be able to remember like multiple languages like that, like words and stuff like that.
He can barely remember English.
Hey, sometimes when we're on the podcast, that's these drinks.
Slurring. Yeah, no regrets.
We always slur it. So his drinks are powerful sometimes. So
I love it.
It's just what it is. But when we talked, when we met up, I know you're not originally from here. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, damn, okay.
Yeah.
How do you like it there?
I love it. Growing up, it was super cool because it's like a very big city.
Yeah.
But it's like a big city that is built upwards and not outwards. So you're like, you can get from one side of Boston proper to the other in like a day just by walking. So it was really cool.
Do you ever try to visit, back home quite often, or like do you do it like once a year, twice a year kind of thing?
I try to do it once a year because my parents are still there. So I'm like, I always have to go visit them.
Yeah.
No, it's the same with us.
Yeah, that's the same with us because we're from Seattle and it's hard going back to your hometown like so often. It costs a lot, of course. That's one thing. It costs a lot to travel and stuff like that, and of course, trying to do video chats as much as possible. That's what we try to do. But yeah, like I could not see myself going back home like various times of the year.
Well, because there's nothing to do, like I go back for Christmas or like Thanksgiving or
that's
like
exactly
the holidays.
What we do. Yeah, that's
and
exactly
it's like when I go, I am just seeing family. We're just catching up. Like there's nothing else there for me because everything I do is here in LA.
Exactly.
And then when I go visit, I'm like, I can't do anything. I'm not working. I'm just solely relaxing and like being a potato.
Yeah.
Right.
No, exactly. That's my exact mindset. Like there's not really much to do in Seattle. Like when I was living there before moving down to LA, it was just work. Like hang out with friends here and there and stuff like that. But the goal and the mindset was always to move here because when I was in Seattle going to film school and all that, it was like LA wasn't always in my mind. I need to get down here to actually do what I'm trying to do, which is, work in music videos, films, all that kind of stuff. So it was like Seattle's home, of course, but it's like my mind was just here. This is where I need to be.
And it's definitely like a different pace being in LA. It's very fast paced. We're very like artistry driven. So going back home is like very slow pace. And it's like if you spend too much time there, you almost feel like you're spending time with family and stuff like that. But you feel like almost you're wasting so much time you could have done. You're settling. That's why you moved away. To keep that grind going. So sometimes like spending too much time there is like a gift and a curse.
Exactly. I would say, like holidays, Christmas time, that's perfect. Like staying there, going back home for maybe 2 to 3 weeks, and then that's it. You
just lose momentum.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, for too long.
Exactly.
And I'm like, I feel like the ambition that you feel in LA is like one of the reasons why I love LA. Because everyone's just like, they're on the grind, they're hustling. Like everyone has goals and they're like working towards it. Yeah. And you go outside of LA, you go back to where you're from, and it's like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Want to drink? Want to do this? Want to chill? And it's like, it's great when you're taking a break. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't want to be breaking for too long.
Yeah, no, exactly. Do you ever feel though, like being in LA like stresses you a little bit too much? Like, cause you know the vibe here in LA, like it definitely, you know, it's a fast paced city. Yeah. And it's always work, you know, but there's times where like I had to take, I had a creative burnout. I had to just take some time off because all I was doing was creating and it gets tiring. Like, have you ever had that yet from living here?
I don't know. I feel like you can find a good balance, right? Like, I personally enjoy being busy because I'm just like, I like going from one thing to the next and doing something. And it gives me like something to fill my day. Right. And then I do see where if you do that for too long, you're like, okay, now this thing that I found really fun is starting to become work, right? And it becomes less fun, and that's when I'm like, okay, whoa. I gotta take a break. I'm just gonna go relax, like maybe go on vacation, go on a road trip, like take a hike, go to a national park, and then like come back. I'm like, okay, now I'm ready, and I'm more motivated to work again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I said, you know, like I needed that time off when I had that creative burnout because if I kept working, I'm not gonna feel motivated. I'm not gonna be creative. It's like I need to try to, you know, let this shit go for like a few months. So I think I took like 3 to 4 months off from creating anything. Oh, wow. I just literally, and also, you know, that was during like COVID time. So I got laid off at my previous job before. And during that time, I was just lazy. I was like, damn, this is actually nice. Because, you know, before moving down here, I was at my job back home in Seattle for 12 years. Oh, wow. 12 years. So, you know, it's like, it was such a nice time off. Fuck you. It was such a nice time off that I was like, you know what? I need this. Like, I've worked 12 years straight of my life. And I think this is the time to actually do it. Like, COVID was just one of those things where you're like, hey, I appreciate you, but then it's fucked up what it actually did.
COVID, you know? Is like a whole different story. I feel like it changed everyone so much.
Yes, it did.
That like it's a whole identity that comes out of it.
Yeah, no, it is. And you know what? Like because you know when I got laid off, it was like I got the unemployment money that was coming in, that extra like what was it like $1,000 or whatever. I mean, that was nice, and I was just relaxing at home and stuff like that. And I knew I couldn't find a job right away, anyways, because everything that was happening, you know. So it was just a nice break and getting, you know, that extra
like
money.
Adult summer vacation.
Yeah, adult summer. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, no, it was. But like I said, you know, during the pandemic, I was still trying to create shit. Like, I was trying to find other ways to make money as well, aside from the unemployment stuff. And, you know, it went well for a while. But and then, you know, last year, it was like, beginning of the year, I was like, okay, this time it's time to find a job. You know, like, COVID's starting to kind of, you know, slow down a little bit. And, yeah, you know, after I got my current job now, I feel like I've just been working harder than ever because... running a full-time job, doing the podcast, shooting these music videos, and you know, trying to build network. It's like it's tiring now. But I'm not at the point now where I'm like at a creative burnout, which I'm hoping, you know, I hope it doesn't happen because I got a lot of momentum going right now. So, like I said, I mean, definitely the pandemic kind of helped a little bit for me to get that momentum going. So yeah, I mean, how did you feel though?
No, yeah, I mean, like COVID we were drinking every weekend.
Yeah,
and,
that was a bad.
Yeah, living life.
That was bad, though. Yeah,
eating out all the time, and you know, we gained a lot of weight. You know, that's reflecting back. You know, that's why, you know, I'm so heavy into fitness now is because of COVID, and you know, because of, you know, feeling lazy and stuff like that. You know, it definitely motivate me not only on the way like I, you know, train myself, but also like my work ethic as well. Like he was saying, you know, I think now that we can reflect back to how we felt in COVID is like pushing us even harder now because of all the time we wasted. So yeah, and this is how like the podcast was even made, you know, having that time and that break away from everything to really step back and reflect on ourselves is like, it was like a gift and a curse as well, you know? So yeah.
That is true. True. You know, before moving, you decided to move to LA. Was it actually your intention of moving here at all, or how did that work out for you?
No, I knew I always wanted to live outside of Boston for some time. Yeah. But I didn't know where. I was like, I just want to leave. And I actually came out here for school, which was like the perfect time because...
Well, it was USC, right?
I went to USC. Yep. So it was between, when I was deciding, it was between USC and Tufts. And then Tufts is like a very medical STEM school, like, and it was like a safe zone. Like I used to go to the campus all the time just to play tennis. So it was like a nice, comfortable school. And then when USC accepted me, I was like, okay, I've never heard of USC before. It's not, okay, it has a big presence here on the West Coast, but on the East Coast, like when I was telling people I'm going to USC, they were like, South Carolina? I was like, no, Southern California.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and then I think that's just kind of what said it, because I was like, I think I saw the school and they had enough diversity in the programs that like I could study STEM, so I studied bio, and I could study theater, right? And I was like, that was the main two things I was looking for. I was like, I want something that is diverse in their programs, so that I can be diverse in what I'm learning. And then I was like, okay, even better that it's in LA, because like I've always wanted to move out.
No, that's dope. Yeah, like I mean, that's almost the same way as us, like finding a way out. It was just, it wasn't school, it was work. Like, you know, it was really a lot, because you know, we've talked about this on the podcast a couple times. Like, it wasn't even his intention of moving down here until I mentioned it to him. I brought it up since I was going to film school. I was telling him, hey bro, like, you know, I'm looking to move to LA because this is where I do work. You know, this is the city I need to be in, right? And only reason I did ask him was because he was always coming out to shoots with me. He was learning how to operate cameras and stuff like that, and I knew he loved what he was learning from me and stuff like that. So, you know, I had to bring it up to him. It's like, hey, like, you want to move out to LA? And like I said, you know, it wasn't his intention, but after, like, I don't know how long you took. I forget how long you actually took to finally decide to move out here. But yeah, I mean, you know, he finally made the decision, and, you know, it's been like the best thing for you, right?
It's the best move ever. You know, we definitely had a lot of talks moving down, and, you know, it definitely took some convincing, because, you know, I've been in the medical field as well. So, and I've moved a lot. You know, I won't get into too deep about it, but like being in Seattle was the first place I felt like home. So I didn't want to leave my home. Yeah. You know, so him bringing that up, but I was heavily like into the artistry and, you know, shooting photos and videos and dancing as well. So like, yeah, when he mentioned it to me, you know, it took some time to sink in, but like came here and like look at this shit now.
It is a big step.
It is. And I think, you know, like, props to all of us that move from a different city all the way to another city, because there are some people that just can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like a lot of people that live here, of course, you know, I would say like maybe it's 50-50, you know, like people that live here want to just stay here. But and then I feel like when people see other people that move here from a different city, you know, they give us that props, because it's hard to move out of your hometown and into a whole new city.
You're leaving your comfort zone,
exactly.
You know, behind.
Exactly, and you know, that's what we miss the most, is like, you know, a lot of the stuff that we left behind in Seattle, like the food and you know, a lot of the food you grew up with and stuff like that. Do you have like something like that back in Boston that you used to like always go eat and you miss a lot, or is it like California is now the vibe for you?
California is now the vibe.
Oh damn.
Not to shit on Boston. But it's a very old town. It's not, it's diverse, but it's not as diverse as what I've experienced in California. But also I was only in Boston for like my childhood. I was only there until high school. So like you're not really doing much as a high schooler. You're like going bowling, you're going to the mall, you're like walking around, spending time at your like friends' houses and stuff, but you're not like exploring the city how you would as an adult, right?
So you went to USC starting like freshman year, or
freshman year.
Okay. So that's why like right at a graduation from high school, you came here right away.
Yep.
Okay, damn, that's crazy. Like, was it hard leaving your family at first though?
Honestly, no. I feel
she's like, that was the best decision ever.
Were your parents like sad or anything?
Oh yeah, they were so devastated. They're like, because Boston's a very college town, right? There's like 7 or 8 schools that are there. They're great, like they're awesome schools. And so my parents, I think in their head, they're like, yeah, she's gonna stay here, like she's gonna go to school here, she's gonna be a doctor or whatever. And then when I told them I was moving out, they were like, why? Literally why? Like there's so many awesome places here. And then I was just like, I need to change. Like I was ready to just be on my own. And I think a lot of it is like, growing up in an Asian household, you're very like constricted to what you can and can't be, right? Not that my parents were super strict. Like they were strict, but they were like, we talked about things, you know, like they were a little bit, my mom was a little bit more supportive, and then my dad was very like the traditional, like you gotta be X, Y, Z and this and that. But I think growing up in an Asian household, especially like a first generation American Asian household where like my parents are immigrants, there's a lot of pressure, and it was a lot of like, we want you to do this, we want you to do this, you can't do this, like, and I think by the time I was a senior in high school, I was like, I'm fed up with this. Like, I feel like I can't truly be myself and like say the things I want to say or pursue the things I want to pursue if I'm living with them. Not that they're like super strict on me, but it was more of just like their definition is holding me in like a mold.
For sure.
Whereas I was like, I just wanted to leave and like start fresh.
Do you feel like you can relate to that? Because I mean, you know, for me, like I'm half Filipino and my other side is white. So it's like my dad, he grew up in the States since he was a kid. So it's like, I didn't grow up in a household where it was super strict like that, but I know you're, you know,
like going into the medical field. I feel like a lot of Asian families like deal with that, like growing up as well, being, you know, first generation and stuff like that, and you know, like meeting your parents like expectations, and a lot of people like feel that like, you know, they can't really express how they actually feel to their parents, you know, so they kind of, you know, deteriorate from that. But yeah, like you, I also was very close to my parents, and they're kind of open to a sense, but they're also very traditional.
They just don't understand.
Exactly.
You know, like, and I feel like it's not just Asian parents, it's just like any immigrant parents. They just don't understand. And it's like, it's almost like a mindset of they are in survival mode still. You know, like their entire world is work and family. Whereas like we are so privileged to be able to have work, have family, but then also like be on that path of self-discovery of like looking for something that you enjoy doing, and not just working to survive, but working to find happiness in what you do.
Exactly. Yeah, and once you mature, like we mentioned this on many other podcasts, is like, you know, your parents in the end just want the best for you, you know. So in their way, you know, especially coming from a third world country, like that's their only way that they know how to succeed.
To be happy.
Yeah, exactly. So of course they're gonna bring that onto their, you know, child and be like, you know, this is the way, or else there's no other way. So now that we've grown into this generation, we're like, no, there's actually way more ways than what you brought to the table. So, you know, it's up to you to, you know, and up to the parents too, to be open-minded enough to show them the way and show them this new route, and that you really can make it in another route that they haven't been brought up to, you know. And you know, my parents wasn't okay with that at first, but you know, seeing the full turnaround now, they're like, wow, you could really make it, and they support it, and you know, it's been good ever since. But it took some, you know, give and take and tug and war to get them to that point. So I totally feel where you're coming from.
I feel like my parents still don't understand.
Really?
What I do.
Okay.
I've like told them so many times. I'm like, okay, I work as an EMT, I work as this and that, and then I think they see art as like a hobby,
right, Same,
and it's not something that's like long term.
That's like a typical thing,
right. And like I've told them, I'm like, hey, like, right now I'm working as a set medic, but I'm working on set like in films and stuff. And then they're like, wait, what does that mean? They're like, so you work at a hospital? I'm like, no, I work like on movie sets. And they're like, okay, and? Like, and what?
They don't know how big that is though. Like the fact that you work on movie sets, those connections. Like, you know, it's all about, when it comes to filmmaking, it's all about networking and trying to get your foot in the door. Like, you know, talking to somebody, letting them know that you're also involved with filmmaking, even though what you're doing right now, like, it's not, you know, exactly filmmaking like on site medic and stuff like that, but it's like, hey, I do some acting on the side and stuff like that, like, you know, like trying to, you know, just slide in there a little bit. But now I want to get into your artistry. So you are involved with a couple different types of artistries, and you know, we are leading into acting. So did you start acting before you moved to LA, or was that something you started like right when you got into when you moved to LA?
I acted in high school, but it was mostly theater. Like I was part of my theater club. And I really found just kind of like enjoyment there, because it was like, I think what's special about theater is like you go in and you are allowed to completely embody your character.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like it's a live show, it's one and done. Like you have to just commit all the way through and just be in the moment and be in the story and be in the character. So I really like that.
That's
and
that is dope.
yeah, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Like I want to be in these stories. I want to be in these different worlds. I want to create these different characters. And then, but I still loved biology. I was like, I still want, you know, to have my STEM background. I still want to be, you know, like involved in both. So I think, I moved to LA to try to do both.
You know, and this is the right place to do it. You know, like this is the entertainment capital of the world, you know, filmmaking and all that stuff. When you were doing like live shows or for school, would you consider it like Broadway type, or is it theater shows or?
Yeah, it was theater, so it was mostly plays. I don't think we ever did a musical, but it was just in high school. It was like put on by our high school. It was put on by our clubs. It was like super low budget, but it was still like you're still involved in the art of it, you know.
Oh, okay.
What was your favorite show that you did?
That I did. I want to say it is the play we did for Drama Fest. So back in my high school district, we had something called Drama Fest where each like high school would put on a play and you get together and perform all these plays in a weekend with all these other drama kids. And dope. You kind of like vote, and it's a competition to see like who did the best, right? And so our play for that was Elephant's Graveyard, and it was like more of an ensemble piece about the circus that came to town, and their whole their whole performance was around this elephant. And throughout the play, you'd never seen an elephant. Like there's no elephant. We just kind of like imagine it to be there, and like we describe what it's doing, and it's more like storytelling.
It's a little hard.
It is. But that's why I love it so much. It's like it's an ensemble piece, and it just shows all the like art that goes into making something like that, because like everyone's working together, everyone's creating the illusion of an elephant that's never really there, to the point where like throughout the story of the play, like I don't know if you want me to spoil it, but it's kind of a tragedy, and the elephant ends up dying, right? And you're taking on this emotional journey of like the excitement and glamour of having an elephant to, oh my god, the elephant's being abused, and then it eventually dies. And the elephant's never really there, so you're kind of telling the story and taking the people on, and even making some people cry at the very end. And it's like that art of like making people feel what you feel without ever having to see what the actual thing. Like I think that was great.
That is, and you know what that is, it's crazy, because I feel like for you actors that have to try to imagine or interact with something that's not there, it's crazy. Let's talk about CGI. Let's talk about the newest Sonic movie that was out. I was watching, you know, I love watching behind the scenes of films and music videos and stuff, and seeing how I forget his name, but the actor is interacting with Sonic and he's not there. It's crazy. Like it's crazy. And you know, like I said, it's I want to say probably one of the first movies I've seen where it was like they're not there. It's like you have to interact with something that's not there. Would be maybe Jurassic Park. Probably Jurassic Park. You know, like they did have models, you know, dinosaur models and stuff like that to try to make you feel like you're interacting. But I know they added in some CGI. So I feel like it goes all the way back to that point. But now CGI is so crazy where, you know, everything looks real. And some of the behind the scenes I've seen with like the Sonic films and stuff like that, it's crazy because it's like, I can't even see myself doing that, like interacting with something that's there. But I mean, that's the art of being an actor. It's like you have to imagine it and all that. It's like that just means I'm not made to be an actor. Like, honestly, like
no, for sure.
Do you think you'd be able to do it? Or
I mean, no. I mean, I had my moments where I had to be, and especially coming from a dance background, you know, we have to like portray like a concept pretty much. So we have to make the audience feel, you know, what we're feeling. And sometimes, whatever theme that we're trying to portray is not there. So there is an extent to it. But going back to the BTS, I've seen like Twilight and Avengers and stuff like that.
Exactly.
When it comes to the bigger budgets, they do have some type of like person that wearing a green suit.
They do some
stuff like that. So it's a little bit easier, but it's still like looking back to the BTS, it's really awkward.
It is.
Like they had Jacob like in a green suit, and he's supposed to be the wolf, and she's like petting his head. And I'm like, that's so awkward. How do you not laugh?
Imagine doing like Harry Potter with Dobby, and then like
yes.
Yeah, there's stuff like that.
Yeah, that is crazy. No, so to touch back on like the Sonic. So the new Sonic, I saw how they film is they actually had like statues. And I don't know exactly how they did it, but everything was still like green screen. They had the statues, so the actor was interacting with statues, but it's still like it's super weird. It's like you're talking to something that's not moving or responding to you, so it's like you still have to have that imagination.
It's funny, a lot of these films and whatever that use like a statue as a character, a lot of times they have an actor like basically puppeteering the statue to kind of give you something to feed
definitely
Right.
Have you seen it on set, like being
Yes, all the time. Because recently I've been working in motion capture, which is which is like the kind of the same thing. I don't know if you guys are super familiar, but it's basically like the room
lot of cameras
with the cameras all around, and then like you get in the suits with like the little balls that are like reflective. But we'll do stuff like that where the person is in the space performing, and then you'll have like a dragon or a robot or something, and it's like literally a figurine. And then someone else who is not wearing the reflective suit will come in and like just kind of puppeteer it. Like, the dragon is flying this way and like doing this, and then like make it interact with the actor.
We interrupt this episode with a word from our sponsor. Are you looking for a way to energize for the day? We got a product that will do just that.
Introducing Gamer Subs. Gamer Subs is a keto-friendly, zero-calorie, zero-sugar-based energy drink that introduces nootropics to sharpen focus and increase reaction time.
Gamer Subs is also organic caffeine-based that will maximize energy and endurance. To make it easier, each scoop used is 100 milligrams so you don't go over your daily limit.
Each tub of Gamer Subs contains 100 servings. Gamer Subs also provides caffeine-free tubs for those that just want their daily vitamin dose without the need for caffeine.
Not only do they have energy drinks, they also have dope merch, such as these waifu cups, t-shirts, and hoodies, and much more.
Are you ready to energize with Gamer Subs?
Use our code Artistry Drop on their website and receive a 10% off discount.
Hey, now back to the show.
Still crazy though. Like honestly, like it's still crazy that being an actor, you have to interact with something like that. Like I don't know how I would. I think I would be laughing like for some reason. Like I think it would be funny to me. And I wouldn't be able to like take it seriously. That's why I don't think I can make it as an actor.
You have to get in the zone.
You have to get in the zone.
That's like that's the beauty of it. It's like you are an actor because you love the storytelling aspect of it. You love being able to transport yourself and your viewers into a whole new world and stay committed to it to get the feelings and the story out.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm just the guy behind the camera. Like honestly, that's
he's gonna be laughing behind the camera.
No, it's happened. Like sometimes we'll be filming some stuff, and I'm like, okay, that was good, but it is kind of funny how like especially for music videos, like music videos directing the artists and stuff, and like I'm like no, like that's not what I wanted, or something like that. So, but like I said, I mean, acting is definitely, I'd say, one of the more harder artistries out there, because with what we're talking about, CGI, trying to imagine things being there, and it's hard, It
is hard.
Yeah, so just from basing it off of what I've seen and from behind the scenes, like you guys kill it. So, but yeah, so going back into like, films and stuff like that, I have seen, of course, a couple of your short films you've been including in, which is like Coffee Addict. I think that was probably one of the first short films I've actually seen you in before we even met, I think.
Sorry,
there's a fly there. I know. Got a small fly flying around. But yeah, it was Coffee Addict. And then I saw your new recent one with the fighting game.
Oh, yeah.
That was funny. That was funny.
You.
Yeah, that was funny. That was great. So when it comes to these roles, does somebody usually approach you to act in them, or is it like a collaborative effort?
It's definitely a collaborative effort. It's more like, hey, me and my friends want to create something, and then we're like, well, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And it's funny because, okay, so with the Coffee Addict one specifically, we got together and we were just like, we want to practice fighting. Like that was the whole thing. Like we didn't know what we were doing. We were like, we just want to practice something. Yeah. And then we got together probably at like 9 a.m. and we just like brainstormed for like a couple hours. And then like, I think I was drinking a coffee, like a Starbucks coffee. And I was like, oh, we could like fight over this because you need something to fight about. Like, we'll just fight over coffee. Like maybe it's too early and you guys attack me. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know, and it just kind of like blossomed where like people were just throwing ideas in, and then we started working out the choreo, and then everyone's throwing in their idea of like what they want the choreo to look like. And then we had a camera op who just watched what we were doing, and he was like, okay, give me like 20 minutes to make a storyboard and create the shot list in my head. And it was amazing because while we were rehearsing like each beat, he sat there and he was just like watching and like drawing, and then within 20 minutes he came up with like a legit like storyboard on his little notebook of like all the shots that he wanted to see and how to tell the story. And I was like, this is fucking insane.
No, that's dope. That's dope. And that's like I said, that's the mind of a filmmaker. It's like, you know, even for me, like when it comes to shooting music videos, the artist gives me the idea they want. It's like, and then I listen to the song, of course. It's like ideas and shots already start popping up in my head. So, you know, like usually after, you know, our meeting, how we want to go about things, I'll try to go through, you know, like I can't draw. So what I usually do is I'll go through, you know, like I'll try to find some short films on YouTube or some music videos and go through like the exact shots that I'm trying to go for, you know, like whether it's a tracking shot or over the shoulder shot or something like that. Like I input it into my shot list so I can imagine like, okay, this is how I want it. Even though it's like a still, as far as camera movement goes, I already know what I want in my head, you know? So the fact I can't really draw, I just utilize whatever I can find like on YouTube videos, and I go through tons because some videos won't even have exactly what I'm looking for until I find one. I'm like, okay, this is good. I take a screenshot of it and boom, then I'll incorporate like, okay, I want a tracking shot on this specific shot and stuff like that. So it's crazy. He actually drew up everything within just that one day because I wouldn't be able to do that. I would have to.
That's that LA grind.
It is. No, for me, you know, like when it comes to like shot listing and stuff like that, it takes me hours. It takes me hours to try to figure out exact shots I want, and I'll try to put them in order too, so I create that storyboard as well. But yeah, it's not easy.
It's funny because I think the Coffee Act one was one of my my first projects.
That's what, that's exactly.
So I was like, I didn't have an appreciation of like how amazing that was. The fact that he sat down and storyboarded everything in like 20 minutes. And then the fact that we also like shot everything and did everything, and it came out with a cohesive piece at the end of
it was
like
dope.
A day.
It was dope. So wait, did he also shoot it as well?
Yeah, so he storyboarded it and then he shot it, and it was just like
all in one day.
Wow. Yeah,
that's crazy. What time did you guys start?
We started at like 9 and we finished probably around like 5.
Damn, that's crazy.
Quick.
Yeah. So you guys just came together. It's like, all right, let's try to shoot something today.
Yeah, we just wanted to practice.
Yeah.
Well, I did not think we were gonna get that far.
Yeah.
Like when we started, I was like, oh yeah, we'll just shoot some stuff and it'll be like cool choreo, practice what we're learning and like this and that, and then okay, maybe we'll have something to show for it, and then maybe get together later on and like reshoot it and like finalize it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it came out and I was like, oh, cool. I guess we don't need to do this again.
Yeah, see, that's crazy because you know that's usually how we work. You know, so it's like for music videos, meet with the artist, come up with concepts, and of course, you know, short films and music videos, they are almost exactly alike, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, so we talk about concepts, ideas. That's meeting one. I'll go and create the treatment, you know, talk about colors we want, kind of the visual aspect we want and stuff like that. Send it off to the artist. They like it. Then I go create the shot list. I'll spend hours creating the shot list, which I feel like is probably the longer process versus like the treatment. So that's why I'm like, damn, like the fact that he was able to do all that shit in just a day, I'm like, damn,
shout out.
I also feel like it's easier when you're working in small groups, right? And it's like a very low budget indie film where you're like, okay, it's literally just the 5 of us and we just have to figure out what we want. Right. But then if you have like larger scale projects where you're consulting like the director and then the client and then like the performers and then like you know all these brains that have their own concept of what they want the final product to be. It's a lot.
So when it came to the editing, did you just leave it to him as well?
We left it to a camera and we were like, here you go. This is your your project now.
That's the other thing that takes a long time is the editing because you know when I go edit, I'll send a rough cut off to the artist and they'll be like, oh, I want changes here and here. Okay, fuck, I gotta go back in, make those changes, and then send it off again. Then they want another change. So it's like, that's why I'm trying to practice on making them group all their like changes in one instead of like them watching it once and then I fix those changes, send it off again, they notice something else. I'm like, spend like a day or two, go through it, the exact changes you want, and send me your list, and then I'll go make those changes, because I feel that's what takes the longest. Is like when they keep sending me like edits they want me to make and stuff like that.
Or just have them come over.
Yeah, no, and that's what we have been doing actually lately with the artists. Is the artists will come over and sit with me while I edit, and you know they have the idea, the visual of how they want things. So that has actually been really easy, and really the time management has been great because we actually kill it out in one day. Like we'll start 7, 8 a.m. in the morning and we'll finish around like 8, 9 p.m.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
So it's a long day. It's a long day. So
but there's also like new ideas that spark up between that editing process.
Yeah, and there's back and forth. You know, like I've argued with some of the artists. They're our friends, so it's like it's not that big of a deal. But it's like, you know, I don't think, you know, this is gonna look good because they're like, you know, listen to me real quick. You know, like I think this might. I'm like, no, it's not gonna look. And then we go back and they're like, okay, you're right.
But that's also the beauty of like creating something.
It
right?
is.
It's like everyone has so many different ideas, and it's like when you put them all together, even if it's not what you envisioned initially, like the end product is usually something like amazing because now you're collaborating everybody's brains together on this one thing.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of like filmmaking and being an actor and stuff like that, collaborating as a team. Filmmaking is a team effort, so you know it's a beautiful thing, you know. So one thing I definitely noticed, you know, in your short films is you do incorporate a lot of boxing and fighting, which you are involved with like the combat sports and stuff. How did you actually get into boxing?
I got into boxing because I wanted to stay fit, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because I didn't really do much. Okay, so long story short, I did like a little bit of karate when I was a kid. I really liked it. I did a lot of things as a kid. I was just like, I was one of those people that I'm like, I like learning, and then once I kind of grasp something, I'm like, okay, what am I learning next? I did a little bit of figure skating, and I only did like a couple months, and I was like, cool, I know how to spin. Next, I did swimming, and I'm like, cool, I learned how to do a butterfly. Next, and then I'm like, okay, karate, cool, let's do karate, and I got up to like, I think it's like green belt, which is, I don't know, it's not that far. But I was like, okay, now I'm getting older. Next, and then I like stopped there. So I wasn't really doing anything to stay in shape. Like fitness wasn't on my radar, especially as like a high schooler. That's not what you're thinking about. You're thinking about like your friends and going out and like all this stuff. And then in college, I was just picking up really bad habits of like drinking a lot and like eating out all the time. And like you're living in a dorm with a dining hall that's like essentially a buffet. So you're in there eating with your friends, and then more friends come and you're eating again, and I was like, I was just not being healthy. And then I got to the point where I was like, okay, I gained like my freshman 15, maybe like freshman 25, and I was like, I can't do this. I gotta get back into fit. Like I gotta find some way to get into shape. And then I think someone that I met on set was like, yeah, boxing would be cool. Like it's a really foundational sport. You know, it teaches you like how to punch, how to stand, how to fight. Like it gives you a lot of the forms you need if you wanted to do stunts or like do other things. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna take boxing classes for fitness. And then I started out at the UFC gym down in Torrance, which they're closed now, but there was a smaller one and there's like the large corporate one. So I went to the small one, which I loved. And then I started just taking classes and like doing like cardio boxing, or like you're just kind of like boxing for fitness. But then I got really invested in learning like the proper technique and like how to really throw a punch, like what kind of combos you can do, and like, you know. And then someone was like, oh yeah, you should like keep going. I was like, yeah, of course I want to keep going. And I found out that there's a boxing club team at USC, and I immediately was like, okay, I'm gonna join this. This is super cool.
That's dope. Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, like exactly how you got into it. Like you didn't even expect getting into it.
That was never something I thought about.
Yeah, damn.
Especially not in high school and in college.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, you know, knowing that, like, did you ever hear things at all? Because I feel like this might be a stereotypical typical kind of thing. But did you hear anything from like men saying women can't fight or like they shouldn't fight or something like that, or were your friends always there to like support you 100%?
I feel like all of my friends have always been super supportive. The only like backlash I get are from my parents because they're like, oh, it's too manly. It's like girls should not be fighting. You're gonna get all muscly, and then like who's gonna want you? Who's gonna? I'm like, it's not about that. It's about staying strong, feeling healthy, and like feeling good. But I think I've been fortunate enough that everyone like around me is like super open-minded, super forward about like, do whatever you want.
Exactly. And that's how it should be, like it should be like it's that, women empowerment. Sure. You guys are killing it, and like we talked about on the last podcast is women coming up in photography. Like it definitely was a rare thing. You don't see too many women photographers years ago. But now they're all coming up and they're killing it. So
because we're opening the space for them. And I feel like before it was such a stigma of like girls can only do X, Y, Z, or like
it was stereotypical.
It was like it was just a different generation and different mindset. And I am so glad that like we are progressing past that and realizing like anyone can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
If you like it and you enjoy it, go ahead, do it.
Facts.
Like
100%.
there's nothing stopping you.
100%. Exactly. That's dope that like a lot of your close circle really supports you, you know. And aside from gender, have you ever experienced where like people look down upon you based on your like ethnicity?
Okay, maybe not. Okay. I'm 5'1". I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'm pretty short. And so people look down on me all the time.
Really? Oh, okay. Physically.
I
get you.
But that puts you in kind of like a mindset, right? You're like, I'm always looking up at people. People are looking down. And it's like, I think it was a part of, it was definitely an insecurity of mine. Of like, oh, I'm really short. Like, what if people don't think I can do this? People don't think I can do this. And I think growing up like that, it kind of builds into your psyche of like, I want to prove myself. Like, I want to be a badass. I want to do stuff that like people don't expect me to do because like I'm short. So people expect me to be like girly and like small and just kind of like do very like relaxing stuff, But then I'm like, no. Fuck that shit.
Exactly. So ever like in the field, have you ever like experienced like any like racial comments, like especially being an Asian person, like doing martial arts and boxing and whatnot?
I don't think. I feel like there have definitely been times of like microaggressions, but I think I'm fortunate enough to never been in a spot where someone's like just blatantly racist. And I think we're still growing out of that microaggression phase where like people are learning to not be like, what kind of Asian are you? Where are you from? Not to like ask questions like that. But I don't know. I feel like I've just been really fortunate in that aspect.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah.
I feel like it's like for me, like even being just half Asian, like I'll always ask somebody, "Oh, what kind of Asian are you?" Just just curious, like
racist.
I'm not trying to be racist. It's just like being half Asian. It's like it's always dope to know like what your friend is and stuff like that. I know some people don't even really care and don't even end up finding out for.
But see, there's like better ways of asking, right?
Yeah, like,
because it's one thing to be curious about someone's background and one thing to be like, what kind of like. Where are you from?
Exactly.
It's
America.
how you approach.
I was born here.
I was born. And that's what it is. Like some people like they see that I'm Asian. They're like, where are you really from? Like I'm like, no, I'm born here.
Sounds like too racist. That sounds like I would never like even ask anybody like that. Like no, like where are you really from? Like usually the correct way is like, what's your ethnicity? Just to know what you actually are and
or
stuff
like what your background is.
Yeah, your background.
I feel like within just kind of entertainment and arts, like you get so many different people involved that like I think everyone is woke enough to not say those things. And it's only ever happened to me when I'm like outside of the industry where I'm like I'm at a bar or a restaurant and I randomly run into like some old white dude randomly, and they're always like, "Oh my god, you're Chinese." My brother's wife is Chinese.
That's something I see in movies. Like honestly,
but that happens where they're like, "Oh, cool, you're Chinese." Yeah, Bob's sister is also Chinese. That's so. I have a Chinese friend. Like, I love Kung Pao chicken. I'm like, okay, and like, why are you telling me this?
That's definitely too much, and that's going too far. I feel like it's like I I wouldn't say it is almost like stereotyping, an Asian person and stuff like that, and that goes too far. Like I feel like a lot of people don't know their limits. Like just leave it as is. Like you don't need to keep telling like, yeah, my family member knows this person, blah blah blah. Like,
but I feel like that stems from just people's lack of what's the word I'm looking for? Not like diversity. Like if they're not seeing people of different backgrounds, then they don't really know how to act when they do, and so it's just like a lack of opportunity to be around different people.
True. Right. That is true. I agree with you. So majority of like the roles you've acted in requires you to do some kind of fighting. Like, have there been any roles yet that you just act and like don't kick some ass and shit like that?
there has some. I don't post my stuff that often, which I should, but there's a couple that's just like just acting, but I don't want to say just acting, because like acting itself is such a devoted art, but I'm such a physical person that I love being able to involve some type of physicality into the storytelling.
No, that's dope. And I feel like it's like us knowing Bruce Lee. Like that's all Bruce Lee ever did. Like, he was just a martial artist, a true martial artist, and just incorporating that into films. Like, do you see that as a path for you? Because you do like combat sports and martial arts. Like, do you want to just pursue like martial art films, or would you want to also kind of go out of the box and do comedies and stuff like that? Because I mean the fighting game you did that incorporated some it's comedic. Like, do you see yourself going in that direction where it features some kind of like martial arts and comedy, or do you want to just kind of go entirely with one niche, like where it's just comedy, where it's action, where it's drama, or what do you think you would want to?
I think it's such a gem to be versatile.
It is. It is.
Like to be able to do comedy and then like flip a 180 and be like a super badass like action hero, and then flip it and be like a little nerdy girl, or something like just being able to do a little bit of everything. And I think a lot of actors would agree to say that like we'll take whatever we can get.
No, and that is true. Like honestly, like I feel like in Hollywood, whatever you get offered, you have to take, because this is your opportunity.
I mean, to a certain degree, like
to a certain degree.
Like there's definitely like the businessy end of like I need to take everything I can get, because well, one, I love acting, and two, I need to pay my bills. And it's like you just gotta do the nitty gritty, do the work, and like I think after that, once you've kind of built a community, a network, and like just shown everyone what you can do, then you're able to kind of be a little bit more nitpicky about which stories you want to tell. Right.
No,
because
exactly.
It's like at first, like you're like, I have to tell everything. I have to tell what people are telling me to do. And then once you're in a privileged stance, you could be like, okay, no, I only want to tell stories that are funny. That make people laugh. Or I only want to tell stories where like I'm a badass hero. Right. And I don't know. I think there's not one thing that I would want to do. I think what means the most to me is like seeing people enjoy what I'm creating. And I think the easiest way to do that is through comedy. And I'm like, because I love to laugh. I love telling jokes. I love when people make me laugh.
Yeah, that's us too. That's us too.
So being able to create something that makes someone happy and make them giggle, I'm like, that's so rewarding.
Exactly.
Especially like, I feel like the world sometimes can be like a dark place if you're like watching too much of the news or like just being super aware that like when you give someone something to laugh about or someone to something for them to watch and feel good about, like it's good, like you're dropping a smile on somebody's day.
Like kind of touching on that, like do you have a certain kind of sense of humor? Because it's like us, we have a certain kind of sense of humor where we don't think people will think it's funny and won't understand our sense of humor. But like, do you know Tim Delgado?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would compare our sense of humor to his. But and then you have that group of people where they're like,
That's don't even funny.
It's not funny, but we think it's funny. You know, like, do you have a certain sense of humor, or do you kind of just?
I don't know. I feel like my sense of humor is pretty broad, but it's like it leans towards kind of like dark humor. Yeah. Where I'm like, I think pain is funny. Like I think someone getting slapped really hard is funny.
That is funny. That is funny. Yeah. It
and
is
like
funny.
Some people are like, no, that's not funny. That's serious. And I'm like, well,
especially in just this generation, I feel like a lot of this generation is a lot more sensitive into what we could say or what we can do and what we can laugh about. So like, we have to kind of be, a little bit more aware of our audience.
But it's hard sometimes.
But I think comedy, that's what comedy serves to do, is like to be able to take these like really serious themes and then turn into something you could laugh about. And then in that process, you discover like why it's a bad thing, or like why it's you know, like you're making fun of the bad aspect of it, and then in that process you learn.
Yeah, exactly.
No, exactly. It definitely brings it to light. So I want to dive like into more of like your fighting and so I noticed like on your IG you list yourself just as a boxer, but I could tell you do more than just boxing. What other martial arts do you know how to do?
I don't know how to do anything, but I'm learning how to do a lot of things. I think I say I'm a boxer because that's the only sport that I've competed in.
Okay.
So I would spar people. I'll do like fights here and there, mostly collegiate fights. Okay. But that's something that I'm comfortable saying, like, yeah, I'm an athlete in that aspect. But I'll learn stuff like a little bit of jiu-jitsu or kali or silat, and then, but all that is like, I'm learning because I enjoy it, and I like the different skills and how they all blend together, and like just the movement aspect of how they look when you're doing that. But I wouldn't call myself like, I'm not like, I don't know jiu-jitsu, you know, like I wouldn't be able to fight someone using only jiu-jitsu. It's like, I'm learning it.
Yeah. So I've noticed you've done a lot of like, you know, boxing matches. Have you ever thought about being a professional like boxer?
I thought about it for a little bit. There was one time where I spar, and then I love going to fights. So I'll watch, like, whenever my friends are fighting, because I have a couple friends that are pro athletes.
Okay.
Whenever they're fighting, I always love to try to like go and support and watch. Yeah, and then so it's a really tight knit circle of like coaches, referees, boxers that are like in this circle. So once you're in there, you kind of like meet everybody. And I remember going to watch a fight one time, and this ref that has seen me fight a couple times was like, Vanessa, like, so glad to see you, like, good, like you're here. And then we were just like, you know, catching up. He's like, have you ever thought about going pro? And I was like, honestly, no. He's like, you could do it. You would be great. You know, like, you got the look, and it's like a business as well as like a sport.
Right.
And they're like, he's like, you could totally do it. And then after that, I was like, do I want to be a pro boxer? Do I? And then I don't know. I feel like as cool and badass as that is, it's such a commitment.
It is. No,
it is such a lifestyle. Like these athletes are training all the time. Like all they do is box. They like eat, breathe, and like just it's always boxing. And it's something that's like that doesn't have longevity, I think. Because you're an athlete, and like you're gonna get older. Your body's not gonna be able to.
And you're always getting hit.
And you're always getting hit. Like you could be the best boxer in the world, you're still gonna get hit here and there, right?
Exactly.
And like to me, I'm like, I don't know if I can put my body through the stress of being a pro athlete and like dedicating myself to be the best athlete that I can. Because I'm like, I don't want to lose brain cells.
I know, right? So it's more of just a hobby for you as of right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look at Rocky though. Like Rocky has probably lost a lot of brain cells already. Look how many movies he's made. You know,
look at Mike Tyson, how the way he speaks, like, you know, it goes a long way and tells how many times like he got hit and like
but
how
to
it
each their own, right? Like some people love that, and some people are like, this is my life, and like props to them for being that dedicated and like doing the dirty work and going through the training and sticking to it and like sacrificing literally everything else to be the amazing athlete that they are.
Exactly. So moving on to my next question, I noticed you do a lot of stunts as well, and I'm a dancer with the dancer background. And I know a lot of fight scenes are like really choreographed and whatnot. Have you ever thought about like getting into dancing?
I tried. I took one hip hop class in college, and I was like, okay, I feel I can be good at this, you know? And it was so hard. It's so different. So different.
I bet, No, I can tell. But, you know, learning, you know, the steps and, you know, having the perfect timing definitely is something that, you know, choreographers look for. So,
I think the body awareness is very similar. Where, like, to be a dancer and to be any type of athlete or performer or stunt person, like, you have to be just physically aware. You have to know what you look like. You have to be able to control different parts of your body at different times. But with dancing, you're dancing to a beat.
Have you thought about capoeira?
That's on my list.
Because that's a mixture of both, pretty much.
Yeah,
you know, like that would be dope. I can see you doing some capoeira.
I would love to learn capoeira.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that would be dope.
So I know you're heavily into fitness right now, and I am too. And you explained a little bit how, like, you know, you kind of like ventured away from being a professional because of how much training they go into, how much commitment it is. But I'm curious to like know what kind of training you're into now in order to prepare. I seen you won a belt recently, and I was like, what kind of training?
Give you a round of applause for that. We gotta give you a round
I was
of
like,
applause.
damn, I wonder like what happened in behind the scenes of like what led up to that moment, because a lot of people don't really realize how much time and effort gets put into that fight on camera.
I mean, to be fair, I haven't fought in a long time.
Oh, really?
Like since COVID.
Oh, okay.
I think the belt that you're talking about, I won, I think, senior year of college. That was like,
really?
But winning the belt is still big.
It is big.
Like that's big though. Like honestly,
it is big.
Yeah.
it was just a fight.
It was just a fight.
But there was a lot that goes into being a boxer. Like I remember, because I did it while I was still in school too. So not only was I a boxer, I was a student first. You know, like I was working my hardest to preserve my brain cells and to have good grades, to do projects, to do do everything that a student would be doing, and then box. So like I think my schedule was super intense. Of like I would wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning sometimes to like cycle, shower, and then go to class. And then I would do class until like probably like 3 or 4. And then you have homework, you're doing projects, you're meeting up with like people. And then around like 7 p.m. every day, I would go to the boxing gym. And then there you're doing your conditioning, like your jump rope, your shadow boxing, you're training combos with your coach, you're doing mitt work. And then every other day you would spar. So it was like always something physical that you're doing that day. And then it was a lot of like conditioning, like you're working on how long you can run, how your pace when you're running, you're working on explosive movement because you want to be able to explode in your sparring round. So like you're doing sprints, you're doing box jumps, you're doing just all kinds of things to prepare you for like to build the muscles you need for when you're sparring.
Right. That's crazy. And it paid off.
Yeah, it did pay off.
Look how far you went. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a go. So, aside from like acting and boxing, you model as well.
A little bit.
You do a little modeling here. That's how we originally met.
Yeah.
But what kind of made you pursue to get into like some modeling and stuff like that?
Honestly, I think I feel like it's been psychologically ingrained in my brain to like pose for the camera. And it started with like being my mom's first daughter, like her first kid in general. There's like so many photos of me at my mom's house of like just me posing or like me, because it's your first kid, you want to document like every little moment. And I think somewhere along the line I was just like, I like this. I enjoy this.
We interrupt this episode with a word from our sponsor. Are you a gamer and looking to amp up your gaming setup? Then we've got an amazing gaming brand for you. Tilted Nation strives to get their customers involved with their development process of new products in order to establish a personal connection and not to mention truly optimized products for the gaming community. They want to go beyond developing amazing products and to lead the gaming community into a united community that works together. A community that pushes gaming essentials to unimaginable heights. They've hooked us up with amazing gear such as this gaming headset stand, mouse pads, and this awesome laptop RGB stand right below my laptop. And now they're hooking you guys up. Use the discount code Artistry Drop on their website, link below, and receive a 15% discount. Now back to the show. No, that's dope. So in the photography world, there is a lot of there's a lot of shit that goes back in, with females and male, working with male photographers and stuff. So, like, this is what I call, like, the juicy stuff. The juicy stuff.
Okay,
So, when, someone asks a model whether they had... I like asking whether a model had good experiences working with a male photographer and stuff. Like, have you ever worked with, like, some kind of creepy photographer at all? Have you had that kind of experience?
Thankfully not. I think I kind of like vet people out, like, because I love collaborating people, and that's how we met.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Just like collaborating. But I think a lot of times like I'll look through their work and then I'll look through the models that they've worked with, and then sometimes like I'll even go as far to like reach out to the model and be like, hey, like, how was your shoot session with so and so? Like, were they cool? And then a lot of times, like, and I've had people reach out to me and be like, oh, I want to work with Corey. Like, he reached out to me, like, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, it was great. Like, we love the collaborative process. Like, super cool. This. So it is a community sense of like being able to reach out to not only the other models but other photographers too. Like, because everyone like kind of follows each other and like, stays in touch and like keeps up with each other's work. And it's like you're able to kind of reach out and like just see and talk to people and be like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this?
I feel like, I feel like that's like literally the process majority of models will go through is, you know, reaching out to other models that the photographer has worked with or other photographers to see if, you know, since they're friends and stuff like that. So I mean, you know, you're going about it the right way. Only reason I bring this up is because, you know, it is a big controversy. It's like, you know, there are a lot of weird photographers out there that utilize the art form for meeting women. And that's why I just kind of like asking to see, you know, if, you know, models have encountered this issue to see how bad it can actually get. You know, that's why I call it the juicy stuff because a lot of it gets pretty fucked up from the stories we've heard. So, you know, definitely happy you haven't had to go through, you know, or you don't have stories.
I definitely have people, like, I've had creeps reach out, right? But you can kind of tell, like, you're like, okay, this guy's, like, he's not.
What would you say, like, is, like, creepy? Like, if he keeps messaging you and doesn't stop, or...
that, exactly. Or, like, a lot of times people reach out to you and they're like, hey, like, I'm really interested, like, I love your page, I love your work, like, I'm really interested in working with you. And usually I'm like, oh, cool, like, you're, like, I'll check them out, and then I'll be like, oh, like, your stuff looks cool, too, like, what kind of shoots do you usually like to do? Like, what style of photography? What style? And, like, you can kind of tell when they're, like, only doing boudoir. And they're only post. And there's sometimes it's not even good boudoir. Sometimes, like, you look at their page and it's, like, it looks like they took it from their phone and it was, like the model's just her boobs. Like, her face is, like, half out. And, like, there's no composition in the piece. It was, like, this is just raw sex.
Exactly.
And that's when I'm like, I don't really do boudoir. You know, like, I love to do lifestyle. I'd love to do like editorial stuff. Like tell me, like, and I like to ask them like what their concept is, like if they have a concept or if they have an idea that they want to work. Because usually, like, when you're doing a collab shoot, you're trying to build a portfolio, or you're trying to shoot something that you weren't able to shoot in a paid shoot, so you want to do it and just to create like an art piece for yourself, right? And so a lot of times, like, when people reach out to do a shoot, they kind of have an idea of like, oh, I really want to do like something on the beach, or like I really want to do this type of like editorial high fashion like posing, and like I want to do something with like light work or with colors, or like someone's like, oh, I just got this cool backdrop, I want to I want to use it. And so like when they don't have anything, they're like, I just want you to be come in lingerie and like
half naked.
No.
And I feel like, you know, that's where the issues come in play. Like, you know, a lot of the stories I've heard is definitely a lot more boudoir shoots. You know, and a lot of fucked up shit going on with those kind of boudoir shoots. So, you know, like I said, I mean, to, you know, whoever wants to do that's fine, but definitely do, you know, a lot of research on the photographer and if the photographer is a professional boudoir photographer, because there are those where it's like, oh wow, like I can do boudoir photography. Maybe I just reach out to this girl and get her naked, you know, or
literally like I feel like there's so many photographers that are using like, I'm a photographer, to like getting touch with hot girls and then be like, maybe I can just slide my number in, that's like become a little bit more than a photo shoot. And I'm like, no, because that ruins like the art of photography. Because like
that's what we say all the time.
Because like boudoir is an art too.
It is,
when you do it right, like it's great. It's
nothing
empowering,
against it.
Right? Like it's empowering. You feel great. You feel sexy. Like the photography, like you create an art piece and it looks great. But it's when these guys, sometimes girls, come in and they're like, we're doing boudoir, and then it's like they're just looking for like
exactly.
Right? And that like ruins the whole art around the photo.
And you know, a majority, that's what I said, you know, a majority of the stories we heard is just more boudoir type of shoots, lingerie type of shoots, and there's actually a blacklist in Seattle for photographers where, you know, a lot of the models I've shot with, we were actually, it was a group shoot. So he was with me and we had a couple of our other model friends. And after the shoot, we were kind of just talking. And then one of them brought up, there's a blacklist on photographers. We're like, what the fuck? Like, holy shit. Like, this must be some underground, like, low-key kind of stuff because I've never once heard of it. So, pretty much what she said was, you know, they, like, you know, the women community comes together and they create a list of photographers that are either just creepy, bad experiences and stuff like that. And then those are the people, you know, you need to avoid already. And our last guest, that had come on here, she also mentioned there is a blacklist here in LA.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Have you heard about it? Or
So anytime something like horrible happens, usually like everyone gets together and it's like, look at these stories, look at this evidence, like here's my experience. I don't know if there's like a physical list, but there's definitely like whenever like something happens, usually the community knows about it, where it's like
exactly,
where like someone will speak up and be like, hey, I had a really bad experience with so and so. And then, like, as soon as one person speaks up, it spreads. Like it spreads. But then a lot of other girls start speaking up, which is great because it's like we're standing up for each other to be able to talk about things like this because it's not easy.
No, it's not.
Definitely not easy.
It's not.
And I'm just glad that people are brave enough to like say something so that you can flush out these people that are like abusing the art of photography or like or even the word or the identity of like I'm a photographer. You know, like they're abusing it when they're not servicing the art, they're servicing themselves.
Exactly. And you know, we've talked about this so many times. It sucks for actual photographers like us that love the art form, that love going to our computer and edit the photos to make it look dope and stuff like that. But people that, you know, I know a couple people back home in Seattle that like they call themselves photographer as well. But when I look at their photos, it's like there's nothing there. Like it's literally like he shoots the girls in like, you know, short pants and lingerie and stuff in his house. In his house, and there's not any composition whatsoever. It doesn't look like there's any kind of editing. And I'm like, is this really photography, or is this you just taking your phone and snapping photos and, you know, posting it, you know? And that's why I said, you know, a lot of people, I feel like, and that's why I feel like the photography community is toxic. Because there are those people where it's like, oh, I can shoot with some hot girls and, you know, like just slide my way in, you know, and stuff like that. And that's why like I've always kind of like stayed away from the photography community, and that's why I keep my circle very small when it comes to that. Like just him, you know, like usually when I go on shoots, it's usually just I bring him. You know, like I know how toxic it can be. And that's why I try to avoid, you know, all that. It's either I go on my own, or, you know, I'll bring, you know, another photographer I can trust that won't do some weird ass shit either, you know. So
I mean, I feel like toxicity and like corruption happens in all fields, right?
It does.
You hear about like directors abusing their power.
Of course.
You know, like, and it happens.
Yeah,
and, like,
it happens.
You just gotta be smart enough to remove yourself in situations like that.
It's just sad, like when it's like the art form you love doing and you hear somebody is like fucking it up. It's like, damn, you know, like I actually love doing the work, but
ruins it for everyone.
Yeah, it ruins it for everyone.
That's when speaking up is so important, you know, like speaking up, supporting each other, and like asking questions and being able to talk openly about things like that. I feel like that's the only way you can stop people from abusing.
Yeah,
exactly. That's true.
I mean, we all gotta collectively come together and you know, stop these people.
That is facts.
Stand up for the good.
Exactly. So going back into you, so you're a fighter, a stunt woman, an actress, a model, and just overall total badass. But on top of being a badass, you also saved lives by being an EMT medic.
Yeah.
So was being an EMT something you got into like before, like going into the arts? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think being an EMT was definitely more of like that stereotypical Asian, like you gotta do something STEM related, you gotta, you know, do this. And it started because I always thought I was gonna go to med school, which is why I studied biology, because I'm like, I do love biology and I love psychology and I love, you know, all the stuff that I studied. And I think a huge step in that medical path was like to gain experience. So I was always taught like, oh yeah, if you want to go to med school, it's good to be an EMT while you're in college, because you're getting real work experience, and then you can use that in your application and just learning and growing and then going off in that field. But it was so interesting because I took my EMT course out here in California after like I moved out for freshman year, and then towards the end of freshman year, that's when someone was like, oh yeah, you should like take an EMT course. And I was like, totally, I'm ready, let's do it. So I took it over the summer. And during that course, I remember my instructor telling me like, oh, you could be a set medic. And I was like, what is that? Like basically you're an EMT, but you're an EMT on movie sets, productions, commercials, films, events, like cool stuff like that. And I was like, hell yes. That's it. I was
best
like,
of both worlds.
Yeah, I was like, literally best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I was like, I get to do the like technical sciencey stuff that I love, and I get to be in a space of creativity that I also love. You know?
Right. So now that you're like in the creative field and also a medic, and now that you're at sets being a medic, do you ever like find things looking from like a third eye in as a medic on set that like kind of correlates to like your own artistry? And like, is there anything that you pull from like, you know, watching from the sidelines rather than like being in person on the camera?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think being a medic and being able to watch everyone work together is where I learn the most.
Yeah, okay.
You know, because I'm not only am I learning how to be an actor by watching the actors and like talking to them and seeing how they prepare and seeing how they do their work and like fine tune their craft.
Yeah,
but now I get to see the camera department and how they're organized and what they're thinking about when they like create a shot, you know, and then I see like the director and what they're going through and like the production team and like what they're going through to organize and get these talent together and like and then like I work a lot in motion capture, so now I'm watching like the animators, the capture crew, the like the mocap technicians that are like doing all these things that I'm like, it really is an ensemble piece to create this artwork, you know, like if you have if you miss any of these steps, like you're not gonna get what the final product is. And I think a lot of the learning is like I get to just kind of sit and watch everyone work and watch it all come together and how connected everyone is and like have an appreciation for each department in itself.
Yeah, that's a blessing because, you know, most medics on set are there just to be a medic. Yeah, but since you're in the art industry, you are actually learning from the side.
And it's like a higher appreciation.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
Like, whoa, like look at all this amazingness happening around me. And then it helps with like, okay, if I'm ever on set for something, I know that like I have to hit this mark because camera department has to focus on it every single time. They're racking focus. So if I'm a step off, like that's gonna mess them up. You know, and then I know that like, oh, like I can't wear something like really scratchy because if I move a certain way, the microphone's gonna scratch and it's gonna fuck up everything for the sound department. And then like camera wise, like, you know, I cheat to the camera, this and that. It's like you just learn so much and it helps you just be good at what you do.
Exactly. So talking about being a medic on set, I kind of want to know like what is your like craziest story that you ever had like being a medic on set?
Okay. The craziest story that I had, there's a couple, okay?
I bet. Yeah. No, I can only imagine.
I worked a lot in concerts.
Okay.
And one of the scariest stories for me is I worked at the Greek Theater, and I don't know if you guys been, but it's like outdoors.
No, I haven't.
It's up in Griffith Park, so it's like there's a lot of hiking trails. It's like in the trees, like very cool. It's all outdoors. And so I worked there all the time, and we would just kind of like walk around and make sure everything's okay. And it's a huge lot, and we have like this golf cart that'll take us like up and down if we ever need to get from like the venue itself to the like parking area. And then I remember this one time, it was like a summer day, and we were like bouncing back and forth from different calls because like people, it was just hot and people were just like dehydrated and like needed little things like Band-Aids and water. And then all of a sudden we get a call that was like, we need medics by the front gate, stat. And we're like, okay, so we hop in the cart and we go. And then at this time, the fire department was just like here by the venue for no reason. Like they were just chilling and like wanted to hang out with us. And so they were there. And so we drive down first, and then we find this guy. He's a cyclist, and he's like fallen over. He's badly beat up. He's bleeding, and you know, immediately we jump in. We stop his bleeding. We're like talking to him. We're like, okay, we're just kind of assessing his coherence. We're like, okay, like where are you? What are you doing? Like, you know, like do you know where you are? You know what time it is? You know, just asking all the questions. And he was just so confused. And we're like, okay, that's fine. Like, you know, he's in shock. Like he's. Some trauma has happened to him. It looks like he fell off his bike, and he's bleeding a lot. So like I get it, you know, like there's a lot going on. And then so we're like trying to figure out what's happening because like his entire chest is like bruised, right? Shit. And like it looks like his rib is either bruised or broken. He's like bleeding like really profusely on his face. Like he hit it really hard. And then I was like, okay, were you going uphill or downhill? And he goes uphill. And I was like, okay. I was like, did you hit a tree? Did you hit a curb? Like, what happened? And he's like, I was moving and then I wasn't. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't know. I was moving and then I wasn't. And then we're like, okay, no worries. Like, take a deep breath. We're here to help you. We're going to get you to the hospital. Like, the fire department's going to take it over. You guys are just going to go. Like, they're going to clean you up. Like, can you give us any clues on like what else is hurting you? He's like, my chest hurts. My neck hurts. Like, my face hurts. And then we're like, okay. And then we didn't have much time to talk to him because like the fire department was already there. So they're like, it's okay. We'll take it over. Get him going. Get him treated. And at some point, we're talking to the park rangers that were there. And they're like, yeah, someone walked by and saw a mountain lion jump out and jump on him and then run back away. And so I was like, the entire day I was like,
damn, that's crazy.
Mountain lions, like, do I have to watch my bag?
Yeah, right. Damn, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, and I was like, it makes so much sense. Like, he was moving and then he wasn't.
Yeah. And then that is crazy.
Yeah, that's just crazy how like things can flip just like in a second, and you don't even know like what happens, and you just wake up and you're just like, okay, this is all I can tell. But moving away from being a medic, you know, I can tell you're a really strong, independent type of woman, and you've done anything that you set your mind to. What advice would you give to other women or people in general who might be struggling with finding that independency and motivation? Was there something that helped you like along the way that you would give advice to other people?
I think staying true to yourself is just the best thing you can do, and just not give in to the pressures of like society or your friends or your family. And for me it was a lot of like the pressures of your family, you know. And I think in the end, like, you only have yourself in this world, right? Like you can only count on yourself to make you happy. So find something, do something to achieve that happiness. You know, like don't rely on your friends to make you happy. Don't rely on a boyfriend or a family member or, someone else to bring you that joy, because like you'll only ever get it in the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, no, I totally vibe with that as well. You know, being from a strict family as well, you kind of like want to please them and do everything to make your parents proud, but then you also have to step back and realize like, okay, is this something I want to do, and that makes me happy, and you kind of have to break away from that. And ultimately, like, when your parents see that you're doing what makes you happy, they also eventually down the road
they get happy too.
They get happy.
But it's hard sometimes. Like it's hard to be honest with yourself, because like there's so many things factoring into each decision that you make. But that's honestly the priority. Is like, as long as you're true to yourself, you will find what you want to do, and you will find happiness in the stuff that you're doing.
Exactly. So going into your artistry, you do so much. Like, and this is probably like a hard question for you to tone into, but like, out of everything that you do, what is the thing that you are drawn to the most? Would it be boxing, acting, or?
It's a hard question.
It's a hard question. I think, well, it's one of those things where like, it looks like these aspects are very different, but in the end, it all comes back to creation. You know, like you're creating something. You're creating like a story. You're creating choreography. You're creating a space for yourself. You're creating your own physique. Like everything is about making something. And I think that's the process I enjoy the most, is like being able to put something out and then having people enjoy it.
No matter what it is.
No matter what it is. Whether it's a fight that someone's watching me perform in. Or it's like a boxing fight. Or if it's like a stunt fight where I'm like, it's a choreographed storytelling. Or if it's like just a monologue where I'm like, where it's just acting. It's like you're creating something, you're putting something out there for someone else to enjoy.
That's dope. That's a true artist right there.
That is an artist.
That's a true artist. So, we're coming to the end of the podcast. What are your goals for like the next year or two that you would like to accomplish?
Oh, I don't know. I think I'm still very early in my artist journey. Like I feel like I'm still very involved in STEM. And I think I would love to be more involved in performance, whether it's stunts or acting. I'm like, I just want to perform and do more. I don't know. I think just finding like that creative identity is what I'm striving to do.
Because you do so much. You do so much.
It's hard, especially. It's hard to just decide what you want to do when you do so much artistry. Because I mean, you know, like we've had other guests on the show where they do so much, and that was a question that we like to ask just to see what they would actually say, because some people are like so invested into one that they really just love doing
and
that.
I wish I was like that, you know, like I really like, because everyone's like, oh, you do so much, that's so cool, but I'm like, I honestly wish I had one thing that I really loved, so that I could put all my energy into one space and be super fulfilled that way, right? But I'm like, I can't, like when I am too involved in boxing, I miss modeling, right? Exactly. And then when I'm too involved in acting, I miss stunts, and then when I'm too involved in stunts, I'm like, I miss being an EMT. I miss like the nitty gritty and like the science and like just thinking, you know, like, and it's so hard to kind of like hone in to one thing. But I feel like you don't have to, right? Like you just do what you're happy to do in the moment. And then like, if that changes, so what? Like, cool, like take a 180 and like do the other thing.
Yeah,
you know?
that's dope.
Exactly. So, you know, what advice would you actually give to somebody trying to become an actor, a model, or even a boxer?
Oh, which one do we want to start with?
Either one. Just start down the list.
Okay. So if you want to be a boxer, I would say to take classes, start with classes, get the form right. And in that gym that you're training at, you will find your friends. You will find a coach you like, and you will find people with similar goals. Get with those people and just train. Like train, learn, and like learn from each other, and just stay open to everyone else's ideas and advice. And then obviously, like, you know, think about it yourself, and then see what you want to do. And then modeling wise, if you want to be a model, just I don't know, just start. I think it is a lot of networking. Like you just talk. It's a lot about finding people that have similar goals with you, and then just working with them. You know, because like you learn so much from your peers that like that's where the growth happens. So yeah, if you're modeling, you know, like start with a selfie if you have to, and then maybe reach out to photographers that you admire and be like, hey, I really want to learn, and like I really want to work on this. Like here's my ideas of the stuff I want to model for. So would you want to create this with me? And then as for acting, I think a lot of acting is training. You know, like some people, I feel like there's a little bit of kind of like not a stigma, but like I feel like there's a group of people that see acting as like, oh, you look cool, you say these lines, and then you just do it, you know. But it's not that. It's really an art that you need training for.
No, it is,
and like when you're trained to do something, like you find so much more value when you actually do it. So I would say take a class. It doesn't matter where you take your class, but like take your class, and then the path will kind of open up itself, where you're like, okay, I took this class, and now I want to take this other class, or I want to read this book, or I want to create films with my friends. I want to try doing these monologues. I want to film myself doing this self-tape just to have, and then it will blossom.
Just through experience.
Fire tips from Vanessa, guys.
Yes, sir.
Are there any shout outs you'd like to give to our viewers?
I don't know. I think just everyone who has, like, if my friends are watching this, just know that their support is what really drives me. And it like I've had a lot of friends just kind of hype me up and be like, yeah, she's gonna be famous one day, she's gonna do this, and that means so much to me, because it's like so and so believes in, like, my friends believe in me, so like I should believe in myself too. You know, because I definitely have moments where I'm like, I can't do this. I'm not made for this. I should just go to med school. I should just do this. You know, and then all my friends hyping me up and being like, no, like, you're doing great. You look amazing. You sound amazing. You're such a badass. You're doing this. You're doing that. It's like that's what keeps me going. You know, like that's what puts me through the nitty gritty, because it's not easy. And like you have really bad days, and you have like really bad times where you're like, you're not booking anything, you know, but hearing them believe in me is just like the strongest,
it's amazing.
The strongest motivation.
It's a roller coaster.
It is. It's a roller coaster, but it's amazing. Where can people find you on social media?
I am at vanessa.rowan.nguyen on Instagram. That's pretty much the only one I use.
And guys, we're gonna link, you know, her links in the description below. But yeah, we're coming at the end of the podcast. Yay. Vanessa, thank you for coming on again.
Yes.
Excited to kind of get to know you more. And yeah, guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, it's Artistry Drop. If you're not following us on Instagram, you can find us at the Artistry Drop. And if you prefer just listening, you can stream all our episodes on all major podcast platforms. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Woo.
Peace.